This is SILB Productions again with another lesson. Before we get started, we have our answer to our pop quiz question. Does anybody know who was the first blind bluegrass guitar player? And he was also a banjo player. I'll give you a hint. He did a song something like this. Since he stood was long and lean, the color of the sun in his eyes were green. Well, he had the nerve and he had the mud, but never was a horse like Tennessee Stud. He did that song. And if nobody knows, straight out of North Carolina was the young fellow by the name of Doc Watson. Doc Watson was a blind musician, and
that's right. I forgot that guy's amazing.
Yeah, the guy was a killer banjo player and guitar player, and he just had the sound. He just had a unique sound all his own. And he died in 2012. He was like 80-something years old. And he was still playing. He had cut back a lot because, he was getting old. So we're going to learn a bluegrass tune today. Again, fixing on the cowboy chords. The keys we're working with, we're doing D, C, and G. In this case, we're starting on the key of G. Then we go to C, and then we go to D and G. This song is called Old Mountain Dew. This was done by so many different people. It's a banjo tune. It started out as a banjo tune, which means it goes breakneck speed. We're going to slow it down. For those guitar players that are going already, oh, I'm having a nervous breakdown because he just went that fast. No, don't worry. I have trained to do this over 20 years. I'm a slow person to begin with in everything I do. So it took me a long time to be able to go. Stuff like that. Even at that speed, I had to be able to do hammer-ons and pull-offs and stuff like that. We'll learn about in later lessons. So, with this lesson, you're going to learn a unique strumming pattern. This is basically the old bluegrass strumming pattern, and it goes like this. You start on the bass string. You start on the low E string. If you're playing a G chord. Goes down, down, up, down on the bass string, then down on the rest, and then up. So down, down, up, 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 down. Now work on that, and then practice on getting it faster. Almost like being a train. And then getting up so you start to get about right about here. So don't worry about that last part. That was just me ending a tag. That's something as you go and start playing guitar, you have habits. When you play certain styles, you have to end a certain song a certain way. Kind of like that, or So I mean, these are just little habits and little sticks. Don't worry. Don't expect you to be able to do that. We'll work on stuff like that later on. We're gonna focus on the chords. So I'll show you the chords to good old Mountain Dew. So you start on G. And it goes like this. So G, 5, 6, 7, and C. G. a bit, so I'll slow it down to about here. So G, C, G, 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 D, G. Now I'll sing it so you can get an idea. I'll sing it a little bit slower than tempo, and then I'll bring it up to tempo. They call it that good old Mountain Dew. It's them that refused it are few. I'll fetch out my mug if you sell me a jug of that good old Mountain Dew. So you can count it out. Some people will be able to count it out, but otherwise I'll tell you where to go. They call it that good old Mountain Dew that stays on here. Hey, them goes to C. Them that refused it are few. Back to G. I'll fetch out my mug, then you sell me a jug of that good old, here comes a D, Mountain Dew. Back to G. I'll go over it again. So G, that good old Mountain Dew. A, C, them that refused it are few. G. I'll fetch out my mug if you'll sell me a jug of that good old, watch out, D, Mountain Dew. And here's how the song goes. When it's put up to, let's say, a little bit more up tempo, square dance tempo, let's say 1, 2, 1. They call it that good old Mountain Dew. Hey, them that refused it are few. I'll fill you my mug if you sell me a jug of that good old Mountain Dew. Well, my Uncle Nort, he was sawed off and short. He measured about 4'2". Well, he felt like a giant when you gave him a pint of that good old Mountain Dew. They call it that good old Mountain Dew. Hey, them that refused it are few. I pour out my mug if you fill me a jug of that good old Mountain Dew. Well, my Aunt June bought a new perfume. It had such a sweet smelling view. Well, to her surprise, they handed down some lies. Was that nothing but that good old Mountain Dew? They called it that good old Mountain Dew. Hey, them that refuse it are few. I'll fill out my mug if you give me a jug of that good old Mountain Dew.
I take it we're not singing about the soda pop?
No, we're not singing about a soda pop. This is about moonshine.
I had never heard that term for moonshine, but it makes sense.
Yep. As a matter of fact, if you ever listen to George Jones's White Lightning, that's another term for it. That's another term. You'll notice that one. The guitar lick is very unique in the beginning of that one. It goes. And so, in the second verse of that song, he says, I asked my old pappy why he called his brew White Light instead of Mountain Dew. I took a little sip and right away I knew him when my eyes bugged out and my face turned blue. Mountain Dew, White Lightning, Sweet Water is all names for moonshine. Okay, why don't we trance over here to the panel discussion here. All right, so now we just did an exercise. We did a song where you have to do a little bit of work. You have to do a strumming pattern. And there are, I don't know how many different strumming patterns, but these patterns you'll learn along the way. There's down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. Now, the same principle that you have, you can also use for waltz. Down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, yeah, down, up, down, down, up. That's it. That's a waltz time. Or some people are going. So many ways to do a waltz time. There's so many different ways to do other styles. Back to Sweet Home Alabama. Down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, down. So I mean, there's different patterns. Bert, Sasha, do you guys have anything? Let's start it with whoever's gonna hunt and fire, shoot matches first. So, whoever starts.
It was a little tricky for me in the beginning. No one ever taught me strumming patterns to begin with. I just kind of did it by rhythm, by listening to music and trying to imitate what I was hearing. And so after been playing for a few years, I came across some teaching videos and some individuals who taught strumming patterns, and I thought, okay, that makes sense. So it never hurts to learn them, even if you play instinctively or intuitively, whatever you call it. Strum, I think, to learn some of the common strumming patterns is really helpful. Especially like I was completely unfamiliar with this one before today for Bluegrass. I always thought, how do you get that sound? And really, it's pretty easy to play those chords with that strumming pattern.
Oh yeah.
And sound completely different than I may sound playing a rock tune or a folk tune.
Oh yeah, like for example, a good example of this is Wildwood Flower. And I'm gonna start like this. But you get the idea. So that's another way you can do. They call them scratch patterns, strum patterns. There's Carter scratch. There's all sorts of ways to do it.
Yeah, I use them a lot. My family background is Mexican American, and so there's some pretty simple strum patterns or picking patterns that they'll use. One is that, down, down, up, down, up. Those very same chords you use, the G, C, oh no, maybe it's F chord, but same strumming pattern. You play that, famous Mexican song, Ese lunar que tienes, cielito lindo junto a la boca. You just use that same strumming pattern with those chords, and you sound just like mariachi in Mexico. It's very simple.
Yep. I used to play guitar in a mariachi band.
Really?
All right. Well, I played upright bass because the guitar player, something happened to the guitar player. He had a migraine or something. He had to sit out for a little bit, so I joined in on upright bass. And
actually, a guitarron, that's like a big gigantic.
Yeah, it's like
bass
a giant
guitar.
Didn't
you don't
the
play it upright
12
and
string,
actually hang it around their neck. It's just
didn't
gigantic.
the 12-string guitars came out of Mexico from the influence by this what is called
Mariachi.
Magic guitars?
Yeah.
Actually, they in part yes, in part no. They were actually, the influence of the 12 string was from another instrument called a tricordia, which was used in southern conjunto music in Mexico.
Really?
Huracho.
Jarocho?
Jarocho, yeah.
Yeah, which is out of Veracruz, isn't it?
Yeah.
I believe, yeah.
Jarocho, yeah, conjunto jarocho. And that uses this, it has this 12-string mandolin, but it's 3 strings, and it's called a tricordia because it has 3 strings per note. Instead of 2 strings like a mandolin, it has 3 strings per note, and they're all octave tuned. So that's where the idea came from, and they started building 12 strings in the 1920s in Mexico at first, and then brought them up through Louisiana and Georgia.
There's a company which is called Stella. Made a lot of them for the old blues guys in the 20s and 30s. You know, like Lead Belly and
Oh yeah. So yeah, strum patterns, big time. You need to learn your strum patterns. There's all sorts of them. Some of them you can hear more. What I taught you today was the bluegrass, so I'll teach that again. That's down, down, up, down, down, up, down. So you always start on the bass string. Bass. Until you get up to that right speed.
you play bluegrass with a pick.
You always play bluegrass with a pick.
Okay.
Oh, really? Okay. I don't know why I always imagined bluegrass being mainly finger picking, but it's
No,
it's
there,
picking,
there.
flat
I
picking.
mean, there are people who have done it that way,
Mhm.
like Maybelle Carter did, but
Doc Watson used a pick. I thought he was mainly a finger style player. That sounds awesome.
Doc Watson did do both,
Okay.
but if he was by himself, he played with finger picking. If he had other band members, then a lot of times he used a pick. Because you need to be able to cut through if you got like 3 guitar players and a fiddle, and especially if you're doing.
What guitar is bluegrass mainly played? With a dreadnought? For the audience, this is a dreadnought.
Yeah.
The acoustic guitars are sometimes different, but that's another topic.
Yeah, you have different body sizes.
Yeah,
I would say
or parlors.
parlors you don't use. Parlors you use more for blues. At least that's what I always used parlors for, or
Yeah.
finger style work like Reverend Gary Davis or something like that.
Those are the smaller guitars.
Those
probably
really
play.
small, yeah.
They got very percussive
You guys
sound.
know where the name Dreadnought came from, by the way?
No.
Yeah, from a ship.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it came from a ship.
yeah.
When the Martin Company created the Dreadnought, my understanding was, there's a documentary about it on YouTube, you can see on YouTube, it's really worth watching, that Hawaiian players wanted something that would ring out without an amplifier, because amplifiers were rare in those days, or not even, they may not have even had them at all. And so they made a big, what they considered a big guitar, and they named it after the biggest thing they could think of, which was a battleship that had just been created or built in the United States called the Dreadnought. So it was named after the ship, the Dreadnought. It didn't even become popular until Gene Autry slung it around his shoulder in the movies. I know Gene Autry was the owner of my favorite baseball team for many years, the
Really?
Angels. Yeah, Gene Autry owned a baseball team, the California Angels, until Disney bought them, and then, but he was known as the singing cowboy,
Yeah, I know.
and so he's the one that popularized the
The guitar.
dreadnought. Yeah.
Yeah. But didn't he play in OM? I thought he played in OM.
Start with, yeah.
Yeah.
Possibly to
Yeah.
start with.
And to start with, I mean, in his songwriting days before he got famous, yeah, but every time else, I would say from the 40s onward, he started using dreadnoughts.
About a word about the dreadnought. It's the most flexible acoustic guitar in terms of styles ever produced, because you can play, you know, like you can play Bob Dylan, you can play like, I don't know, Bon Jovi ballads, and you can play blues, you can play Beatles, and you can play like all kinds of stuff. It's the most flexible guitar.
Yep, but if you want bluegrass, you need a jumbo
Jumbo, of course.
jumbo dreadnought.
Yeah.
You need the biggest one you can get.
Which is the biggest Martin model. This is the D28.
Which is the biggest Martin model?
Yeah, there's a 35, there's the
40?
I don't know.
I don't know.
didn't know the size.
I have to ask Martin. I'll look it up
Yeah,
on
there you
internet.
go. I'm not sure which one the largest one is.
I always thought the D18 was the largest, but
Could be.
uh,
Well, do we have a quiz question for the next episode?
How if by the way, if you want to buy a old Martin from the 1930s, you have to you have to like rob a bank or something.
Yeah, sell your house maybe. They're beautiful. If you've ever heard old Martin, they're amazing.
I would dream of a Martin. I would dream of something like that. A decent.
It's like the Rolls Royce of acoustic guitars.
Yes, that's what we're talking about. Martin guitars. Where did Mr. C.F. Martin come from?
Germany, Magnerkirchen.
That was the quiz question. You just answered it.
Oh, sorry.
But maybe where did he learn to make the guitar?
Yeah, you know that?
Yeah, I know that.
You know that?
Yeah.
Nobody knows it in Vienna.
Sorry, do you mind if, since he hijacked your quiz?
Go
ahead.
By Mr. Stauffer.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Stauffer, Landstraße, Hauptstraße in the 3rd district.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I don't know, nobody knows it, and nobody make, you know, like.
You should have a museum or something.
Yeah, should, but you know, sometimes.
So if you didn't catch that,
Yeah.
what Sasha is referring to is right here in Vienna.
Yeah.
Is where C.F. Martin
Learned
how to make
from Stauffer.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
Martin brought out some Stauffer guitars, and Stauffer, like Martin was famous, and Stauffer not.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just did. How can I say this? He disappeared.
Yeah. Usually they say the student is not greater than the teacher, but in this case, Martin really.
Well, Martin
famous.
I think Martin decided to go to America, and Stauffer did.
I just know now it's located in Nazareth, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, since we know that, and we know who, what, I'm gonna have to do a different quiz question.
Okay.
Let's do, okay. Who was the first to invent steel string guitar?
All right.
That's a debatable question because there's two different people. I'll give you a hint. It's a debatable question because there's two different people that said that were credited for inventing it. Who are those two people?
All right. We'll have the answer next week. Well, not next week. Next video.
Yep.
And what are we going to learn in the next video, Willie?
We're going to learn how to play Swing Low Sweet Chariot, bluegrass style.
All right. Okay. We'll see you in the next video.
All right. Keep on
Please
playing
subscribe.
on. Yes. And keep on playing on.